Welcome back, traders. It's Samurai Trader. This is session 2, dated the 30th of the 3rd 2016. As this is a new video, if you're going straight to video 2, sorry, but I need to put this risk disclaimer back up again. And if you haven't read one of my risk disclaimers, please do required by law. In other words, don't trade with the rent money. Of course, all of this you can obtain, all of the setups that we talk about, all of my indicators are all included in the Day Traders Fast Track program. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do. Simply click on the bottom right hand corner there'll be a subscribe button for those watching this on YouTube. So let's now go back to the charts, and I want to talk about pivots for a moment. I use a third party, so as a quick recap, I use TradeStation. The two most common trading platforms for day traders and swing traders I tend to find today are either NinjaTrader, Thinkorswim is very popular, but NinjaTrader and TradeStation. And with the institution I work with, they use, all their operators, all of their traders use TradeStation also. And I've been using TradeStation now for over 20 years. Now, I use the third parties, that is, I've purchased from another company years ago their floor pivots, and I've got to say I know the mathematical equations of how floor pivots work appear to be the same, but quite often people will apply, or members or traders will apply their floor pivots and get different lines on their charts. So it still baffles me, it really does, why that is. So obviously it's mathematically there's something different from one charting package to another. Another thing you need to be aware of, and I don't believe this is the issue so much with NinjaTrader, but with TradeStation you can either have exchange time period, that is, let me just quickly show you this. So under the format for data you can hear time zone exchange, or you can go for local. Now if you go and use local time period, it changes your pivots, so just be aware of that. So I like to use exchange pivots, but I'll still be amazed that even when I use local time, that pivots still work, bounces on pivots. Now also, as far as pivot trading goes as well, I still tend to find that straight pivot trading still can be very tricky, and I have never mastered it. Yes, I'll get pivot bounces as one of a combination of signals that works well for me, and also trading from pivot to pivot, and these ones from Easter Monday are very close together. Normally they're a lot further apart. So you'll hear me say price action will trade from one pivot to another. For an example, from here generally you'd have that distance, see the middle one, that normally wouldn't be, it'd be much wider apart. So you'll see pivots, price action trade from one pivot to another, like from there down to there, from here up to here, over here down to this pivot here. You'll see that day in day out. So the most useful thing about pivots is it can give you a general target area. Now as a scalper, I will still be in and out maybe 3 or 4 times before I hit this lower pivot. So anyway, all pivot programs vary, so just be aware of that. Now from Rick asked about the T25. Rick, the T25, the best T25s, as with all momentum trend following trades, are after you've had a successful T20. See, a T20 is basically confirming a new trend. So you wait for your first pullback or first retracement, then you jump in on your T20 after that. And I've done a number of videos which you've got on the T20, and there's also the cheat sheet. But T20s, particularly your first 3 to 5 in a trend, work an absolute treat. A T20 also is a trade where you're not reliant on indicators. It's a pure price action trade. You get your 2 to 5 candle pullback, you get a pop, and away you go. And in strong trending markets, just remember, Rick, too, you don't need to have 2 to 5 candles. in a strong trendy market, you may only have a one candle pullback and you're in on the next trend continuation candle. So just keep that in mind. So let's now go and have a look at some price action on the 233. So for this is really applicable. I've got a lot of friends in LA and across the United States and Canada. So you hear me talk about, I love the Globex market. So here is the close of a New York session, Chicago session. It's closed for nearly an hour, then the market opens up and away it goes. T20, 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 34B, 34B, really strong reversal candle here. We can see here, and let me just take the channel out just for now, just to simplify my charts here a little bit. You'll hear me talk about this, traders, time and time again. With counter trend trading, please stay away from it until you're consistently profitable as a trend trader. Even with the T89s, forget them when I talk about them. Okay, don't even try the T89s. That's my recommendation to you. Stick with the trend. Now, remembering our target here of $200 a day as a minimum, once again, you've wrapped that up basically within, what's that here, within 4 or 5 hours. You've wrapped up your $200 target trading Globex. Also remember, when you trade Globex, that is, once New York closes, your broker requires you to have the full margin per futures contract you trade. So if you are trading ES, I think the overnight session, I think it's $4,600. So per contract you trade, you need to have $4,600 in your account anyway, unlike the day trading margin. So please keep that in mind. But another thing I love about the Globex market, it moves 99% of the time at a really tradable, for a newer trader, it's just a great slow market. It allows you to get in, gives you some thinking time, etc. And I just love the patterns, the trends. I think it trends beautifully. So I'm a real lover of the Globex session. Once you start to get up though, if you're buying at market 10 contracts, you will get quite often, or nearly all the time, at least one tick a slippage. Okay, sometimes two. But overall, for the smaller traders, you're trading under 10 contracts. For an example, so far today, and it's what is it there? So it's been open about 8 hours now, 9 hours. There's been 45,000 contracts trade. Now on the NQ, there's only been 6,000 contracts trade. In actual fact, in a moment I'll pull down the NQ chart. I'll just show you that. It's on a separate screen. I'll pull that over in a moment. But the patterns work brilliantly. And just here for the 220, by the way, traders, this was one of these ones too far out. This was more than 4. It's a little hard for you to see there. That was 4 or 5 ticks out. So where you get those, and I waited for this pullback, I don't take these. As I mentioned, if I'm 4 or 5 ticks out from the crossover, I'll wait for my first retracement, which is a T21. And just remember, for your 8 above the 34 for your longs and under your 34s for short only. We can see here lovely T7 up here, great T20, T-21. Now there you could have traded that as a T10, T2, you've got that as a T25. So there's multiple different entries there you've got here. But you can see you come down, you've bounced off for 200. That worked out to be, that was a beautiful, and I've taken the channels off, that was a great T89. Only experienced traders please trade those. And the reason being, by the way, you may be thinking, if you're new to my videos, why do I recommend that all traders wait, don't counter trend trade? Because that's where traders really get smashed. Time and time again, we think the trend is finished and it's going to reverse. Yes, we'll get a short-term reverse and bang, off it goes again. And really, from my work in the markets for over, it's now 24 years, it probably the biggest reasons besides moving stops is traders counter trend trading. That's why I'm really anti counter trend trading for newer traders. So your T20, lovely T20, you got a 34B here, etc. So this is the Globex session. There's some great trading with it yesterday. let's have a look at today's session. Okay, and just what I think of it, traders, I mentioned before, traders will say, you've got all these great setups, why didn't you take them? Well, because I've got a life, I've got a family, I've got my consulting clients, and I trade 2 hours, as you know, the New York session, and I'll fire off trades when I've got time, because I just can't sit here all day. And actually, let me pull out what I should have done on the last one too, is let me just pull the trades up, just one sec. So traders, I like to have a very low, what's the word for it, low risk, comfortable lifestyle trading. I've got my target, as I mentioned, $200 to $500 a day per contract. I trade 10 lots, and once I hit that, I'll really stop trading. It's no stress. I'm in my 50s, I don't need the stress. So just have a look at some trades taken just some hours ago. I took a quick, this was a cross between a T9 and a T10. That was for 5 ticks, and my target was actually, and I was lucky I got filled there, because it went down there and it bounced off straight off the 89, as you can see here. Then I entered a T20 here, and this was like watching paint dry. I was waiting to go out. It's school holidays down here in Australia at the moment, and I've got a 12-year-old daughter, and we were due to go out do some shopping, and really I thought this was never going to get me out. And I thought, even though it's only an hour or so, but it's still quite some time. And I went down. I had a 6-tick target. My comment here is, it's like watching oil paint dry sometimes, and you experienced traders, you know what I'm talking about here. And I was after +6. It went down, it hit +5, I went to break even, then it started to pull up. And this is an area that I mentioned in recording video one, that I always get concerned when you can see all of your MAs converging. And we can see this here, all 4 MAs are converging. We ended up having a 200 and an 89 bounce here, and what usually happens here, we had a change in trend, and I got out at +3. That was still 375 on 10 contracts. That was 625. It's after brokerage, that's 950 or 95 per contract, just for 2 fairly quick trades on the Globex market. And up here was a fantastic T89. Now, just on one point, remember earlier I mentioned, when you're doing your back testing, you're not always going to get in and get filled. Like here, that move was within seconds. From about this candle here, that was all over in 30 seconds, 1 minute. So somebody obviously went and bought very heavily. You could have traded your T89 there. I was out of the office at the moment, but then we had at that moment, but then you had a nice 34B and T1 that was good for 6 ticks. Then I jumped on this one, and I jumped on the T20s. T20s kick butt. I mean, if you're not trading as a member, if you're not studying the T20s, really you have to study T20s. They kick butt day in, day out. Different markets will react slightly different. As I mentioned, it's different on the NQ compared to the ES, and even on the FX, and even on stocks, but it's a kick-ass strategy. Then a little further along here, you've got winner. So look at that there, winner. Over this one was a winner, right? So the T20s kick ass, they really do. So look at the $200 plan you've made. If you had been sitting here focused, and I was up 675 this morning per contract, so I had a great morning this morning. And then I went and picked up another $95 per contract here. I've had a fantastic day. So I'm well and truly wrapped up, and here I am doing a video. I should be out perhaps smoking a big Cuban cigar, but by the way, I don't smoke. But focus traders, if you look at your $200 a day plan, and the reason I talk about 200, that is really realistic, and it's also on the shorter term time frames, trading your 233 up to your 1000 volumes. You're going to achieve this in most days within 2 to 3 hours. Now, I know the prop traders I work with are sitting in front of their screen 6 hours, but they're also trading someone else's money. It's a lot easier when it's not your own money. And I mentioned this the other day. Somebody said to me, why aren't you doing your 200 contracts, your 300 contracts at a time? Because my risk tolerance isn't there. 10 I can handle. I can handle 4 trades or losses in a row, which is very, very rare now. I get 2 stop outs. I wait for a whole new trend. But my risk parameters, it just doesn't suit me. But hey, 2 to 4 grand a day is a pretty comfortable living. And you do 200 a day. Now mine's more than that, my target, but that is realistic for most traders. Now to get there, remember what I mentioned last week in some videos, and I want to mention this really important thing again before I get back to some member questions, is traders, when using the simulator, what is absolutely critical, you simulate the exact trading conditions. So in other words, we're on every trading platform. You can have on there $1 million in the trading account, and you can trade 100 contracts. Whether you're trading TradeStation, Think or Swim, or any of these, you can put a dollar figure in. Traders, if you're starting trading micro accounts with $1,000 with FX, put on the simulator $1,000. If you're trading futures, as I say, I don't care if you've got 50,000 to kick off with. Don't start with 50, start with 5 and earn the right to be trading 50,000 or 10 contracts. If not, you are going to lose your money. Use a simulator in the exact same environment, just like as you hear me talk about a flight simulator. Now I know I talk about this and go on because it's one of the biggest what's the most fatal errors that I see new traders, because you don't have someone there ready to give you a slap if you go outside the boundaries, okay, and you think it's a game. Well, trading is meant to be enjoyable, yes, but remember, we hardwire our habits. Discipline's like a muscle. The more often you exercise it, the stronger you become at it. All right, so I'm not going to talk any more about that. So let's just see what's happened now the rest of the day. We can see here now it is now 4:32 p.m. so we're heading towards, in an hour or so, the London Open. So now's an area that you don't trade. Okay, we had a nice little double bottom there, but this is pretty much most days a dead time. Okay, so let me have a quick look at some of the other questions that we've got here. I've mentioned about the T7, the T25 we've spoken about. Okay, now read the live trading room. Traders, look, I've just about finalized our moderators here, but most of you know, with the hedge fund I'm working with, we'll have that project finished in a couple of weeks. Once that's finished, then we'll be ready for the live room. So look, if we said 4 weeks ago, so we're getting very, very close now, but I've got to finish this other project. Also, I've got one of the prop traders I'm looking at working with me on the room as a moderator. He is at the moment sending me through his daily results with my strategy, so he's had to learn my trading style, which he's doing, and he's doing very, very well. So I'm not going to let him loose, because remembering our hours are upside down, so I'll be moderating the last 2 to 3 hours of the room, not the whole session. Why? Because that's 11:30 p.m. at night for me, and it's just I'm not going to stay up all night trading. I don't need the money that bad. So another thing we're going to have up there, we will be using the TradeStation. So one of the questions from Daryl, we'll be using the TradeStation platform in the room. However, once again, now with virtually every trading platform, as you know, we've replicated the indicators. The only thing that's not 100% yet is a super scalp of a white paint bar. I believe that's still closing on the third candle, where we want that to plot after the tick above or below the second candle. So that's something we just need to work on, but otherwise we'll be calling trades for the NQ and the ES and black gold oil in the room. Now for our Forex traders, it's going to be pretty much impossible for us to do that in the early weeks. And what I'm hoping is we'll have enough support then to open up an FX room and have that as a separate room, because you just can't, you hear me talk about this, look, focus on one market, one time frame, a couple of setups, that's all you need. And for a trader, for my mods to be calling too many markets, that's how they're gonna start making mistakes if they're doing that. Just looking here at quickly going through. Okay, the pivots I've spoken about, where you're going to get different pivots, will give you a different different levels I'll plot. Okay, this is for Craig. Craig, you asked about the tick settings. Well, the tick settings that I recommend are on the cheat sheets for the, so with the 8 core strategies, I think it is 8, with the 8 core ones I've completed cheat sheets for. You'll find the settings there, but you may need to experiment with those. Now for the other time frames, I like to have, in using anchor charts, and that's what I want to quickly talk about. Using anchor charts, when I do, or if I do for a particular reason, refer to an anchor chart, it is nearly always three times higher time frame. Then I'll draw my support, resistance in, etc. With that being said, the purpose of a 200 is also to give me an idea of what is happening on a higher time frame as well. The more things you are looking at, the more confusing it becomes. Remember, we can only handle so many pieces of information at any one time. So I haven't mastered personally referring to the anchor trade on the anchor chart on every trade, and because I'll just look at the information I've got here is telling me what is happening right now. My pivots are telling you what's going on, my 8, my 34, it's all there as a short-term trader. However, traders, if you use anchor charts and it works for you, keep using them, don't stop using them. But I usually like to look at time frames 3 times higher. Now let's see here. So when you are trend trading, which is the time frame you're looking at, the final decision is made on my chart here. So here we're looking at the 233, Craig. I refer to the 233. It gives me all the information that I use here. Now here another question you had here, Craig, is about the range charts. Okay, Craig, sorry, just quickly read, do you think it's odd to use range charts, range bars for your trading and have other charts set to time charts? Look, this is what I'm using now. I don't think it's working. Look, I like consistency personally. I like it. Now I know others will vary, and really some of the best in the business will also tell you that you should be referring to time charts for your anchor charts. Well, do you know what? Virtually every trader you'll talk to has got a different opinion. And personally, if I'm trading now in this particular case, and the reason I've jumped from tick on the ES to the share bars is because one of the firms that I'm working with very closely on prop trading, that's what their traders use, is all share bars. Hence I've jumped to share just to be consistent with the work I'm doing. And quite frankly, share works exactly the same as tick to me. I don't like trading time-based charts because I think we lose too much in a 1, 2, 3, 5 minute candle. So much more, I can read so much using share or volume personally. So I like consistency. So play around with it, and when I say play around with it, always in sim. Another key thing, traders, I just remembered a discussion I had with a trader the other day. Look, if you're going through 3 or 4 days of losing, stop live trading, go to sim for 30 days, get it right. Traders, you're going to be trading the rest of your life here. You know, regain your confidence. If you're trading T20s, T21s and 2s and 3s, that is the first 3 trades after a T20, you're going to make money in this market consistently, but only if your head is in the right space. If your thinking's not right, your trading's not going to be right. So really, I want you to really work on that. So Craig, hopefully I answered all your questions there. So really, tick and volume, the settings are in the cheat sheets, tends to and you know, they either works really well. I'm just quickly looking here. Samuel, you asked about you're a big fan of NinjaTrader. Yes, NinjaTrader is a great trading program. Recommend you do that. Now with trading records, with the live room, yes, we're going to be keeping accurate stats on every trade that is called in the room, and none of this crap where you see, you know, like I see some crap from some live trading rooms. They're going to be actual results. and we will be out, however, putting in the trades that were not taken as well. We may already have a number of positions open. For an example, you can be, say, in a T2, you might have a couple of other T25s come up while you're already in the trade. So we're going to be keeping trade stats of all of our core setups, but we're not going to be trading all of the setups, and let me explain why. Getting back to what I said earlier about focusing on 1 to 3 setups, we have 12 different methodologies. You've got your T18, you've got your the T89, you've got the T19s, for T25. There are so many things there, and hey, I can't trade them all, and I've been doing this a long time, and I put them together and model what others are doing. So we're going to be focusing on the best of the best, and that's really what trading is about. Is we are snipers. We're waiting for one shot, one kill. That's really important. So we're not going to be trading all of the setups in the trading room, just all of the key setups. Now I think okay, I think I've now covered virtually all the questions from members that have come up, besides the emails that I receive every day. So traders, all of this and a whole lot more. So for the general public, I didn't disclose too much that we disclose in the course here, but all of this is in the Day Traders Fast Track program. We're in it to make money and to have a bit of fun and to enjoy trading as well, and to cut down our risk, all the stress, as much as possible. I teach you a lot of different strategies, but as I say to all new students, focus on 1 to 3. Be patient. So what if you've got to sit there for 15 minutes to 30 minutes waiting for a 85% high probability 6 to 12 tick trade? And that's the thing, we need to train ourselves to be patient. So if you haven't already subscribed, as we wrap this video up, please subscribe to my channel. And for $197, you get all of this and a whole lot more, in this support, etc. And remembering, you need to own the Day Traders Fast Track program to be a member in the room, because in the room we are disclosing and talking in depth, and that's another really important thing, traders. The trading room is more than just about trading. The old saying is, you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. We're going to be doing that by calling live trades. You teach a man the fish, you feed him for life. So we're going to be teaching you how to recognize these trades as well. Now, another thing with that, we're going to be teaching you how to be very price action orientated, how to have as little as possible on the screen. So traders, let's wrap this up. It's 28 minutes now in, and I'll see you on the next video in a few days. And for members, of course, all of these links and resources will be in the Google Drive area. Thank you.